Imagine scrolling through Instagram one afternoon and stumbling upon a glittering diamond ring displayed on the perfectly manicured hand of a woman whose caption read, "Finally, I got what I deserve." The snapshots exuded wealth and confidence, yet something felt off. Whispers soon spread that this ring wasn't just a random gift from a lover, but rather a piece of jewelry dripping with betrayal. A scandal so shocking it would ignite headlines in high society circles from New York to London. This is the story of a mistress who flaunted her glamorous ring online only for the receipt to reveal it was purchased with the wife's credit card. Olivia Harrington had just finished her morning yoga session in the backyard of her luxurious Hamptons estate. Sunlight dappled across the lush garden, the aroma of freshly cut grass blending with the crisp ocean breeze. She rose from her mat, feeling the gentle hum of relaxation seep from her muscles. Her daily routine included a cup of herbal tea, a quick glance through emails, and then a scroll through social media to keep up with the philanthropic circles she was part of. But today, that casual scroll brought her world to a screeching halt. The first image that startled her displayed a familiar face, Celeste Donovan, the young woman who had occasionally appeared as a model in charity events. Celeste's graceful posture always stood out. Today she had posted a picture of an opulent diamond ring, one that shimmered brighter than the sunlight. The ring featured a large princess-cut diamond, surrounded by a halo of smaller diamonds set on a platinum band. "Finally, I got what I deserve." Blessed, read the caption, along with hashtags like "Dream Come," "True," and "Soul Spoiled." Olivia felt a slight pang in her stomach, though she couldn't quite place why. For a moment, Olivia merely admired the ring in the photo. It was the kind of piece that belonged in the Tiffany & Co. catalogues stacked on her marble coffee table. Yet something about the ring's design, an elegant swirl accent, nagged at her. She was certain she had seen it before, perhaps months ago, when James, her husband, had shown her a jewelry advertisement from a well-known upscale brand. They'd been discussing anniversary gifts, but she dismissed the notion. After all, James Harrington was not the type to buy lavish rings for random acquaintances. Olivia's phone pinged with a new text message from her closest friend, Monica White, an interior designer who was known for her impeccable taste. "Hey, Liv." Monica's text read, "Have you seen Celeste Donovan's new post? The ring is insane. James told me once he was looking at that ring for you. We talked about it at a dinner last spring, but I guess he never got around to buying it." Olivia's heart skipped a beat. The same ring James had once considered for her. Determined not to jump to conclusions, Olivia quickly composed herself. James had a substantial business network, filled with socialites, models, and artists. He prided himself on being a generous sponsor of the arts, paying for exhibits and dinners, occasionally handing out extravagant gifts, always with the intention of furthering his philanthropic and professional standing. Maybe Celeste had been a recipient of one such philanthropic gesture, but a diamond ring of that magnitude as a casual gift. Something felt wrong. That afternoon, Olivia approached James in the study. A successful real estate developer, James was on a conference call with a high-profile client, none other than the real estate mogul and New York celebrity Donald Trump, who had once purchased property adjacent to a Harrington development. Their partnership was more rumor than reality, but the association alone elevated James's status. She lingered in the doorway, observing the tension in her husband's shoulders as he hung up. He turned to her with a strained smile. "Liv, everything okay?" James asked, placing his phone on silent. She hesitated before replying. "Have you seen Celeste Donovan's latest post? She has a ring that looks a lot like the one you showed me last year." James's expression froze momentarily. Then he forced a laugh. "The ring. It's just a piece of jewelry she must have gotten from some other admirer. Honestly, I haven't seen it yet." Olivia didn't pry further right then. Yet a twinge of doubt took root inside her. The seeds of suspicion had been planted. If James was innocent, why did his reaction seem so forced? Why did he appear so tense, as if Olivia's question had strummed a chord he wanted to bury? Pulling herself together, Olivia decided that for now, she would keep this discovery to herself. But deep in her heart, she knew that the ring Celeste flaunted was about to change everything. The next morning, Olivia paced around the sunlit living room. She tried to immerse herself in planning the upcoming fundraiser for the Children's Arts Foundation, her usual passion project, but her thoughts drifted back to Celeste's ring. Despite James's attempts to dismiss the situation, a knot of anxiety continued to tighten in Olivia's stomach. Monica White, ever the supportive friend, came by to discuss the fundraiser's interior design theme. She brought rolls of fabric swatches in elegant blues and golds, planning to transform the local gallery into an ethereal dreamscape. But even Monica's excitement about design couldn't prevent her from returning to the scandal at hand. "So have you talked to James about the ring again?" Monica asked, glancing sideways as though afraid to intrude. "Are you sure you're okay?" Olivia forced a tight smile, running her fingers along a sapphire blue silk swatch. "You know James." He brushed it off as if it's all some coincidence. "But you mentioned to me that he looked at this exact ring before, right?" Monica nodded sympathetically. "Yes, we were at that dinner last spring, with a few people including Kim Kardashian's friend Simone, a stylist who was showcasing her new jewelry partnerships. James was quite enthralled by that ring and told me it was absolutely perfect for your anniversary. I'm honestly shocked to see it on Celeste's hand." They exchanged worried looks. Monica hesitated, glancing at her phone, as though she had more to reveal. Then with a sigh, she tapped her screen and showed Olivia another of Celeste's posts, one posted just that morning. In this post, Celeste posed near a grand piano at a fancy penthouse. The ring sparkled under the chandelier's glow. The caption read, "When you have the best supporter in the world. So grateful." A chill rippled through Olivia. That penthouse looks like the one James occasionally uses for corporate guests in the city, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. She recognized the distinctive open-plan layout and the view of Central Park. They had hosted charity pre-dinners there numerous times. Monica placed a comforting hand on Olivia's shoulder. "Before you let your imagination run wild, maybe she was just there for a photo shoot, or James let her stay as a courtesy." "But Liv, I'm concerned." Olivia struggled to maintain composure. No matter how she tried to rationalize it, everything hinted that Celeste was more than just a casual business acquaintance. The ring, the penthouse, the cryptic social media captions, it all pointed to a deeper connection. In an attempt to distract herself and get some definitive answers, Olivia decided to approach the matter from a different angle. She recalled that James had a personal assistant, Ethan Brooks, who handled his scheduling travel and personal errands. Ethan was an unassuming man in his late 20s, discreet but observant. If there was a missing puzzle piece to be found, Ethan might know where it fit. That afternoon, Olivia invited Ethan over to the Harrington mansion, under the guise of needing help with James's upcoming travel itinerary. As they sat in the living room, she tried to coax information out of him gently at first. "Ethan, you've been with James for a while now. You handle a lot of private stuff for him, right? She asked, feigning a casual tone. Of course, Mrs. Harrington. Ethan said, a hint of nervousness flickering in his eyes. I schedule his flights, manage his calendar check on his emails. Whatever he needs. Olivia tapped a pen against her notepad. And for gifts like jewelry or flowers, do you usually handle the purchases? Ethan swallowed. Yes, if Mr. Harrington asks me to. Sometimes I pick up items from the store or place the order online, but it depends on what he requests. Her heart pounded. That ring Celeste Donovan posted on Instagram, did James buy that? For some reason, it looks eerily familiar. Ethan's eyes darted toward the windows as though hoping for an escape route. I'm not at liberty to discuss personal client matters, Mrs. Harrington, he stammered. But Mr. Harrington never told me to keep secrets from you per se. He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck as tension weighed him down. I can confirm he purchased a ring from Lafleur Jewelers a few weeks ago. It was significant. He told me it was for a special person. Olivia's hand trembled slightly. And was it charged to his usual account? Ethan hesitated. Actually, he used a credit card that belongs to you, Mrs. Harrington. He said you'd authorized it for a big purchase. I only discovered it when the receipt showed up in the monthly statements. I tried to ask if we should clarify, but he told me not to worry about it. I didn't want to pry. I'm sorry. In that moment, Olivia felt everything inside her collapse. Not only had her husband potentially bought this ring for Celeste, he had done so with her credit card. The humiliation was overwhelming. She managed a tight smile for Ethan's sake, quickly dismissing him to handle the rest of James's travel itinerary. Once he left, the tears she had been holding back poured down her face. Any lingering denial she harbored vanished. The man she had loved for years might be deceiving her on every level. The ring, the penthouse, the captions, was her entire marriage built on illusions. Yet Olivia was no passive victim. She resolved then and there to unearth the truth, no matter how painful it might be. Olivia couldn't bear facing James without more evidence, so she turned to the one person she trusted outside her immediate circle, her older brother, Kenneth Palmer. Kenneth was a skilled financial analyst and had worked in one of New York's major banks for over 2 decades. If anyone could help Olivia navigate the uncharted waters of credit card statements and track suspicious transactions, it was him. Early the next morning, she took a train to Manhattan and met Kenneth at his favorite cafe, a quaint wood-paneled place near the financial district. While the city bustled outside, they settled into a discreet booth near the back. Kenneth had an air of calm authority, with salt and pepper hair and wire-rimmed glasses that reflected a sharp intellect. After some small talk, Olivia laid out the situation in hushed tones. She explained the ring, the troubling Instagram posts, and Ethan's reluctant confession about the card. Kenneth's brow furrowed as he sipped his black coffee. "Liv, this is serious," he said gently. "If James is using your card without explicit permission for personal gifts to a mistress, no less, he's overstepping more than just moral boundaries." Olivia rubbed her temples. "I feel like an idiot. I trusted him completely. I can't understand why he'd do something so brazen." Kenneth patted her hand. "Look, James knows you share finances. But if he's cunning enough to buy a ring under your name, maybe he assumed you wouldn't notice or that you wouldn't question him if you did." Some men in high society circles develop an inflated sense of entitlement. I've seen enough financial disputes to know how messy this can get. She clenched her jaw. "I need to know if there's more. if he's funneling money to Celeste or hiding transactions. Kenneth nodded. Let's start by looking through your joint accounts and statements. I'll show you how to trace any irregular spending. If necessary, we can hire a forensic accountant who's worked with me before. Together, they spent hours poring over Olivia's banking app and older physical statements she had brought. Kenneth taught her how to filter transactions by category, identify recurring charges, and match receipts with credit card statements. Sure enough, multiple unauthorized charges surfaced: designer clothing from exclusive boutiques, a weekend getaway at an upstate spa, and lavish dinners at Michelin-starred restaurants. The names on receipts weren't always clear, but the pattern suggested someone was enjoying these luxuries without Olivia's knowledge. As they delved deeper, Olivia's heartbreak grew. Some of the transactions took place on nights James had claimed to be away for business. A surge of resentment pulsed through her as she realized how meticulously James had orchestrated his double life. She turned to Kenneth with determination. I want to confront him, but I need more than just these statements. I need something indisputable. If I do this the wrong way, he'll wriggle out of it, twist my words, or deny everything. Kenneth tapped the table deep in thought. There's another angle. You mentioned Celeste Donovan is a model, right? She probably has some presence in tabloids or showbiz circles. If she's flaunting that ring online, people will take notice. Maybe it's already gossip among the modeling community. If we can get hold of any paparazzi photos or leaks of them together that could be concrete. A memory sparked in Olivia's mind. She recalled a sensational blog run by a local socialite, Felicia Barlow, who thrived on dishing out exclusive scoops about the city's elite. Felicia had broken news about James's associates before. If Celeste and James had been spotted together, there was a chance Felicia had photographs or insider tidbits that might have never made it to print yet. Felicia owes me a favor, Olivia said, a flicker of hope lighting her eyes. I once let her use our property for a charity photo shoot. She might know something, or at least know the right paparazzi to talk to. Kenneth placed his coffee cup down. That's one approach. The other is you might hire a private investigator. It's more discreet, but also more expensive. Olivia took a shaky breath. Discreet is good, but so is speed. I can't live in limbo. I'll start with Felicia. See if she can shed some light. If that doesn't pan out, I'll hire someone. They parted ways with a tight hug. As Olivia stepped back onto the bustling streets of Manhattan, her heart pounded with both fear and resolve. She would chase every lead, gather every piece of evidence until she had a bulletproof case against James. Her marriage might be on the verge of collapse, but at least she wouldn't let him gaslight her into ignorance. She would confront the truth on her own terms, no matter the price. That evening, Olivia found herself standing outside Felicia Barlow's opulent townhouse on the Upper East Side. The building's facade, ornate with carved stone and wrought iron balconies, reflected Felicia's penchant for the finer things in life. Smoothing her hair, Olivia rang the doorbell, her nerves alight. A liveried butler admitted her into an elegant foyer. Moments later, Felicia descended a sweeping staircase, dressed in a chic black cocktail dress. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity, though Olivia could see she was taken aback by an unannounced visit. Olivia. Darling. It's been too long, Felicia exclaimed, greeting her with an air kiss on each cheek. You look tense. Come, let's have a drink. Felicia escorted Olivia into a lavish sitting room where crystal chandeliers cast subtle rainbows across antique furniture. As they sat down on plush velvet settees, Felicia ordered 2 glasses of champagne from her butler. She leaned forward, eager to hear what had driven Olivia to drop by unannounced. I'm in need of information, Olivia began carefully. It's about a model named Celeste Donovan. I recall you once worked with her for a charity gala. Or was it a runway show? Felicia's eyes glimmered with intrigue. Yes, Celeste. She's up and coming, but always had a knack for being in the right place at the right time, if you catch my drift. Word on the street is she's recently come into quite a fortune, courtesy of a very, very wealthy benefactor. She raised an eyebrow. I'm guessing that's what you're here about. Olivia felt her pulse race. Precisely. I heard rumors that she's been spotted in exclusive places around the city, wearing a certain diamond ring, rumored to be from a married man. You know how the gossip mills churn. Felicia sipped her champagne, then set it down. Let's just say there's chatter among the paparazzi. Celeste has been seen entering and leaving that fancy penthouse near Central Park you and James sometimes use. She's posted cryptic messages about dinners at Michelin-starred places, front row seats at runway shows, stuff that's not typical for a model who isn't internationally famous yet. Usually I'd break such stories if I had solid proof, but I like you, Olivia, and I don't want to ignite a scandal that might hurt you, so I've kept it under wraps. Olivia inhaled sharply. I appreciate your discretion, but ironically I might need that scandalous evidence. I suspect James is behind her new lifestyle, and I believe he bought her that ring using my credit card. Felicia's jaw dropped. My God, you deserve better. She paused, then softened. Listen, I do have connections to a freelance paparazzo named Rick Donnelly. He's caught Celeste and James on camera more than once, but he was never sure how to publish them without crossing you. Rick's always on the hunt for a big payout from tabloids. If you need hard evidence, you might want to talk to him. But be warned, Rick will want some form of compensation, or at least a reason not to sell those photos to the highest bidder. A mix of relief and dread washed over Olivia. She had no qualms about paying for proof. But what if the evidence ended up plastered across every gossip site? Her family name, the Harrington brand. Everything could be dragged through the mud. Yet she realized that might be unavoidable if James refused to come clean. All right, Olivia said quietly. Can you arrange a meeting with Rick? Felicia nodded. I can. But before you go down that route, be sure you're ready for whatever you see or hear. His photos can be explicit sometimes. Olivia's throat tightened. She wasn't sure she was prepared to see visual proof of James's betrayal, but part of her needed it to fully comprehend the depth of his deceit. She stood, setting aside her champagne flute, barely touched. Thank you, Felicia. You've been a good friend, Olivia said, giving her an earnest look. Felicia gave her a sympathetic smile in return. I'll text you Rick's contact details. Good luck, Olivia, and if you ever need a place to stay, or just a sympathetic ear, don't hesitate. As Olivia left the townhouse, the city lights glowed around her. The weight of impending confrontation pressed heavily on her shoulders. She clung to a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, James could explain himself. Yet deep down she already knew the truth was more sordid and hurtful than she cared to imagine. The next day, Olivia braced herself for a meeting she once never imagined having an encounter with a paparazzo to gather evidence against her own husband. Early in the morning, Felicia texted her Rick Donnelly's details, complete with a warning. He can be slimy, but he's reliable. Olivia texted Rick, and they agreed to meet in a discreet cafe on the Lower East Side, an area where the hustle and bustle often overshadowed clandestine gatherings. She arrived first, ordering a cappuccino she hardly touched. Minutes later, A man in his early 40s with a weathered face and a scruffy beard walked in. He wore a leather jacket and carried a camera bag slung over his shoulder. At first glance, he could have been a biker rather than a paparazzo. "Mrs. Harrington?" Rick asked, his voice low and cautious. Olivia nodded. "Yes." "You're Rick." They settled into a corner booth. Olivia noticed Rick's guarded demeanor. His eyes darted around as if wary of onlookers. Once he seemed confident no one was listening, he turned to her. "Felicia said you needed photos related to Celeste Donovan. We both know who else might be in them." Rick began quietly. "I can confirm I have some, but let me guess you want them to confront your husband." Olivia exhaled slowly. "Yes. I need proof. I've discovered my husband purchased a ring for Celeste, possibly among other things, and used my money to do it. He denies everything, of course." Rick pulled out his phone and scrolled through a gallery app. He slid it across the table, revealing a series of photos. The first few showed Celeste entering a sleek black limousine. The next ones showed her stepping out at the penthouse Olivia recognized. Then came more intimate shots, James and Celeste, exiting an upscale restaurant, his hand pressed to the small of her back in a way that was far more than gentlemanly courtesy. Olivia's heart hammered. This was her husband, dressed in the same tailored suits she'd bought him, captured in damning stolen moments. She fought the urge to look away. "It gets worse," Rick said flatly. He tapped the screen, and a brief video played. In it, Celeste and James were on a penthouse balcony. Their faces were turned partially away, but it was undeniably them. James leaned in, sliding his arms around Celeste, pressing a kiss on her cheek. The ring, even in the grainy footage, caught the city lights with a telltale shimmer. Olivia's stomach twisted, even though she had braced herself. Seeing the evidence hurt more deeply than she had expected. It was one thing to suspect betrayal, another to witness it. She took a shaky breath. "I need copies of these. I'll pay whatever you're asking." Rick shrugged, crossing his arms. "I'm not a blackmailer. I'm a paparazzo. Usually I'd sell these to tabloids for a nice chunk of change. But Felicia told me the score. You're a decent person, and you're in a bad spot. I'm willing to give you everything for $5,000. That's probably a fraction of what a tabloid would pay, but I figure it's fair." $5,000 was nothing compared to what James had spent on Celeste. Olivia nodded without hesitation. "Agreed." Rick waved a hand. "I do want one promise, though. If you decide to go public with these, let me know first. I'd like to position them so no one suspects I sold them directly to you. Got to protect my reputation, too." Olivia understood. She wasn't sure what she'd do with these photos in the future. Confront James privately. Threaten him with public scandal if he didn't comply with certain demands, or give them to a divorce attorney as evidence of infidelity. Whatever the choice, having the upper hand felt grimly empowering. She transferred the money electronically to Rick's account, and in return, he airdropped the folder of images and videos to her phone. "These are time-stamped," he said. "They're authentic, no doctoring." Olivia thanked him quietly, gathering her composure. As she pocketed her phone, Rick stood up to leave. "Look, I've seen a lot of affairs in this city," he said with a tinge of regret. "But I can see this one's cut you deep. For what it's worth, I'm sorry." Once Rick left, Olivia remained in the cafe trying to calm the riot of emotions within her. Her cappuccino was now cold. She picked it up, taking a tentative sip, hoping to steady her nerves. She had what she came for, the proof of James's betrayal. Now she had to decide how to wield it. Armed with undeniable evidence, Olivia drove back to the Hamptons estate. On the way, her mind raced with possible ways to confront James. Should she calmly show him the pictures and ask for the truth? Should she rage at him, unleashing the fury of her betrayal? Every scenario played out in her head like a film reel. By the time she pulled up to the mansion's iron gates, exhaustion weighed heavily on her soul. She parked in the circular driveway and took a moment to collect herself, checking her face in the mirror. Her eyes were slightly red, and there was a weariness etched into her expression that no makeup could hide. She adjusted her posture, squared her shoulders, and stepped inside the grand foyer. "Olivia, is that you came?" James's voice from the den. Her heart skipped a beat. Usually James was either at the office or traveling. His presence at home this early was unexpected. Slowly she entered the den, to find him sipping scotch while reading documents spread out on a mahogany desk. A fireplace crackled softly in the corner. He looked up with a smile that froze halfway, noticing her tense demeanor. "You're home early. Everything all right?" She studied him for a moment. The gentle lines around his eyes that once spoke of sincerity now felt like illusions. He seemed genuinely concerned, but she could no longer trust his expressions. Fine, Olivia lied, keeping her tone level. "I wrapped up some errands in the city and decided to head back." James watched her carefully, setting his glass down. "You look upset. Are you sure nothing's wrong?" She wanted to confront him right there, to fling the phone onto the desk and show him the damning videos. But a flicker of caution held her back. Confrontations born out of raw emotion could spiral out of control. Maybe a controlled approach, a plan, would better serve her. She glanced at the documents on his desk. "Are you working on something?" He nodded. "Yes, it's a new development proposal. Actually, good that you're here. I wanted to talk to you about a potential philanthropic angle. We might incorporate some community arts spaces." For a fleeting second, the mention of philanthropy, one of the shared passions that had once bonded them, brought a lump to Olivia's throat. She recalled the days when they planned charity galas together, traveling abroad to volunteer. Before the wealth and status overshadowed their intimacy, they had shared genuine dreams. She took a measured breath. "We can discuss that tomorrow. I'm not feeling well." James stood up. "I'll check on you soon." "Yeah." Olivia offered a curt nod, leaving the den. She headed straight to the master bedroom, locking the door behind her. A tide of tears she had held at bay began to spill. She sank onto the king-sized bed, remembering how she and James used to share whispered jokes and playful banter in the quiet moments before sleep. Yet the images of him kissing Celeste on that balcony flashed in her mind, slicing through any nostalgia. She recalled the ring, her ring that now adorned Celeste's finger, financed by her own credit card. Exhausted, Olivia grabbed her phone. She wanted to call Monica, but stopped herself, worried that James might overhear. Instead, she scrolled through the incriminating folder, heart pounding anew with each image. How could he do this to her, to their life together? That night she barely slept. Rage simmered beneath her sadness, and as the clock struck midnight, she vowed she would not let James manipulate or placate her with empty excuses. She had tangible proof, a justifiable reason to take legal steps or demand restitution. But first she needed a plan, a controlled, strategic way to confront him that protected her financial interests, her dignity, and possibly the charities they had built together. Under the soft glow of the bedside lamp, Olivia's tear-streaked face hardened with resolve. James Harrington wouldn't see her coming, and Celeste Donovan would soon learn that flaunting a stolen ring on social media was just the beginning of a chain reaction that would upend all three of their lives. Sleep-deprived and restless, Olivia woke before dawn. She knew the next step required a cool head and professional guidance. If James had used her credit card illicitly, and if she decided to divorce him, she needed an attorney who would handle the case with discretion and vigor. After a quick shower and a strong cup of coffee, Olivia made a call to her longtime family lawyer, Helen Armstrong. Helen specialized in estate planning and had advised the Palmer family for years, but she also had a network of top-tier divorce attorneys. If anyone could point Olivia in the right direction, it was Helen. "Good morning, Olivia," Helen said, answering on the second ring. "You're calling quite early. Is everything all right?" Olivia suppressed a heavy sigh. "Not exactly. I'm facing a serious marital crisis. I need advice on potential legal action, maybe even divorce." A quiet pause. Helen's voice softened. "I'm sorry to hear that. Let's meet in my office this morning if you can. We'll talk privately." They agreed on a time, and Olivia prepared herself for the drive into the city. On the way, she rehearsed what she would disclose. Part of her felt uneasy about exposing the private details of her marriage, but she reminded herself that lawyers needed honesty to provide effective counsel. Helen's office was located in a towering glass building overlooking the East River. The waiting area boasted plush chairs and modern art exuding professionalism. Once Olivia was ushered into Helen's private office, she found the attorney a poised woman in her 50s, with kind eyes standing to greet her. "Olivia, come in," Helen said, guiding her toward a leather armchair. "Can I get you some tea?" "Yes, please," Olivia replied quietly. She took a seat, placing her purse and phone on the small coffee table. Helen poured green tea into a fine china cup and handed it to Olivia, then sat down behind her polished desk. "Now tell me what's going on, and don't hold back. Attorney-client privilege means it stays between us." Olivia recounted everything from Celeste's Instagram posts to the credit card receipt and the paparazzo's photos. As she spoke, Helen's expression grew grim. "That's quite a tangle," Helen murmured when Olivia finished. "If James is indeed having an affair and using your personal finances for it, he's potentially committed financial fraud, especially if you never authorized those transactions." Olivia swallowed. "I'm aware. But my name is on some of our joint accounts, so he might claim we share funds." Helen nodded. "True. However, if you can prove certain accounts were intended solely for your personal use, that changes the legal perspective. Plus, there's the moral angle of using your card for a mistress. In a divorce that could influence spousal support decisions or property division in your favor, depending on the state's laws." She paused, leaning forward slightly. "But before we jump into divorce filings, let's consider your goals. Do you actually want to end the marriage? Or do you want to confront James and see if he's willing to reconcile under conditions like a post-nuptial agreement?" Tears pricked Olivia's eyes again. She sighed, feeling torn. "Part of me still loves him. We built so much together. Charities, philanthropic events, a reputation. But the betrayal is too big. I don't know if I can forgive him." Helen gave a sympathetic nod. "I understand. Betrayal is devastating. My advice: gather all financial documentation that shows these unauthorized purchases. Secure copies in a safe place, maybe with a friend or a cloud storage account. Then have a candid conversation with James. Depending on how that goes, you'll know if reconciliation is possible or if you need a more aggressive approach. Olivia sipped her tea, comforted by Helen's practical calmness. What if the confrontation escalates? James can be very charming. He might try to manipulate me or deny everything. Helen steepled her fingers. Show him the evidence plainly. Don't get emotional in the moment. If you need me present or a mediator, I can arrange it. But it's better to have a private talk first. Then if it goes south, you can take legal steps. And if it turns ugly, or you feel threatened, call me immediately. Feeling more assured, Olivia nodded. Helen handed her the contact details of a top divorce attorney she worked with just in case. Before leaving, Olivia paused at the office door. Thank you, Helen. This has been a lifeline. Helen offered a gentle smile. You're strong, Olivia. Trust yourself. No matter what James says or does, remember that you have the upper hand here with the truth. With a folder of legal notes and a determined heart, Olivia left Helen's office. The confrontation loomed like a thundercloud on the horizon, but at least now she had a shield and a plan. The sun had set by the time Olivia returned to the estate. Darkness draped the grand house in elongated shadows, and the scent of the Atlantic Ocean wafted through the open windows. She found James seated in the living room, his suit jacket tossed aside, tie loosened. The flicker of a muted TV cast shifting light across his features. Where were you all day? He asked, his tone somewhere between concerned and irritated. She stood in the doorway, momentarily silent. Images of him and Celeste flashed across her mind, his arm around her waist, the stolen kiss on the balcony. Olivia took a calming breath, reminding herself of Helen's counsel. We need to talk, she said, her voice steady, despite the turbulence in her chest. James stood flicking off the TV. All right, let's talk. He gestured to the sofa. Sit. Olivia walked over but remained standing near the mantel. James regarded her warily, and for the first time she noticed a flicker of unease in his gaze. I know about the ring you bought for Celeste. Olivia began her words, direct and unwavering. I know you used my credit card. I also know you've been taking her to exclusive restaurants, putting her up in the penthouse, and lying to me about your so-called business trips. James's face went pale, a surge of tension passing through him. Olivia, it's not what it looks like. She retrieved her phone from her pocket and tapped open the gallery Rick Donnelly had sent. She placed it on the coffee table, the images clearly visible. James's eyes widened, focusing on pictures of him and Celeste, locked in a private embrace, lips dangerously close. In one shot, she was wearing the shimmering diamond ring. What exactly does it look like to you, James? Olivia demanded, voice trembling slightly but still resolute. Because to me it looks like betrayal. He sank into the sofa, hands braced on his knees, his face taut with guilt and frustration. Liv, it just happened. I've been under so much pressure, work, finances, everything. Celeste, she offered me an escape. I never meant for it to go this far. Escape? Olivia echoed, her eyes bright with anger. You're telling me you found your escape in another woman, using my money to fund her lifestyle? She exhaled sharply, pacing the living room. That ring, do you realize how humiliating it was to discover that my credit card paid for it? James shook his head, as though trying to dismiss the gravity of it all. I planned to pay you back. I got in deeper than I expected. Celeste had some financial troubles, and she looked to me for help. I was trying to keep her happy, just until I could figure out how to end things. You were trying to end things by buying her a ring, Olivia hissed. Do you hear how absurd you sound? James attempted to rise, but Olivia glared and he sank back. She pressed on, voice firmer now. I've spoken to our lawyer, Helen Armstrong. She says this could constitute fraud. I have evidence of unauthorized transactions from our joint statements. I have photographic evidence of your affair. He closed his eyes, rubbing his temples. All right, I messed up. I won't deny it. But Liv, we can sort this out. Let me make it right. Let me pay it all back. Apologize publicly if you want. Just don't throw away our marriage. Tears gathered in Olivia's eyes. She tried to imagine a future where she forgave him, but all she saw was Celeste's smug social media posts and the glint of that ring. I'm the one who has to decide if our marriage is salvageable, she finally said, her voice trembling. I don't know if it is, but I do know this Celeste and that ring are gone. Send it back. Do whatever you have to. I won't have you parading around with her on my dime. James nodded, looking defeated. I understand. I'll end it with her tonight. Olivia's chest felt hollow. Part of her wanted to scream. Another part wanted to collapse into tears. Instead, she turned on her heel, leaving James alone in the silent living room. The confrontation was over, at least for now. She had laid down her demands and brandished her evidence. But whether James's remorse was genuine or just another performance remained to be seen. Days passed. True to his word, or so it seemed, James ceased all contact with Celeste. Olivia monitored joint financial accounts and saw no suspicious charges. The penthouse remained unoccupied, and Celeste's Instagram posts shifted. She no longer flaunted sumptuous dinners or sparkly gifts. At first, Olivia felt a small measure of relief. But then, one afternoon, Olivia's friend Monica rushed into the estate carrying an iPad with a grim expression. Liv, you need to see this. Olivia's stomach lurched. What now? Monica slid the iPad across the kitchen island, revealing a gossip blog post by Felicia Barlow's competitor, a ruthless blogger known for sensational exposés. The headline screamed, Millionaire real estate tycoon's mistress speaks out. Claims emotional abuse, financial deceit. Trembling, Olivia scrolled through the article. It showcased photos of Celeste, tear-stained and defiant, claiming James had manipulated her into an affair. The piece insinuated that James had promised her marriage, lavish gifts, and a high-profile modeling career, only to discard her abruptly. Sources say Mr. Harrington used his wife's credit card to keep Ms. Donovan silent, but after a heated confrontation, Ms. Donovan was cut off entirely. The article read, Now she's breaking her silence. An embedded video showed Celeste sobbing in what appeared to be a professionally lit interview setting. He promised me everything. Celeste sniffled. I never wanted to hurt Mrs. Harrington, but James claimed their marriage was over. Then he just left me with nothing. He used me, used both of us, and now I'm devastated. Olivia's outrage flared. This is twisted. She's painting herself as the victim, as if she had no idea what she was doing. She's the one who flaunted that ring on social media. She's the one who paraded around in fancy restaurants. Monica placed a comforting hand on Olivia's arm. I know, but the public loves a good scandal, and Celeste is capitalizing on it. She must have sold her story to that blogger. I'm sorry, Liv. Tears of frustration brimmed in Olivia's eyes. All of this is humiliating. I tried to handle it quietly, but Celeste isn't going to fade away. She's making James into a villain. Maybe he deserves that, huh? But she's dragging my name into it too. Monica exhaled. Do you think this was her plan all along? Seduce a wealthy man, get expensive gifts, and then if it goes south, paint yourself as the abused mistress for media attention. It sounded plausible. Olivia felt a surge of anger, not just at James, but at Celeste's cold, calculating moves. Yet overshadowing it all was a sting of betrayal. She had tried to preserve what little dignity was left, but Celeste's public narrative threatened to tarnish Olivia's reputation too. That evening, Olivia confronted James once more. He was in the study, staring at a flurry of emails from business partners who demanded explanations for the scandal. His hair was disheveled, his eyes bloodshot from stress. So Celeste is launching a full-blown smear campaign, Olivia said sharply, tossing the iPad on the desk. Care to explain why she's so furious? Why she's making these claims about you, manipulating her? James ran a hand through his hair. I ended things as I promised. I told her the affair was a mistake, and I was returning to my wife. Obviously, she didn't take it well. I never thought she'd go to the tabloids and spin this sob story. Olivia shook her head. You never thought, James, you involved yourself with a social climber who uses social media to broadcast every move. What did you expect? He glanced at the article, eyes seething with frustration. Now my business partners are worried this negative press will tarnish deals. Investors are questioning my judgment. Well, Olivia said icily, maybe they should. You did, after all, pay for a mistress with your wife's credit card. James rubbed his temples, exhaustion thick in his voice. I swear, Liv, I'll handle this. I'll issue a statement apologizing to you. Maybe claim the charges were a misunderstanding. We can frame it as an extortion attempt by Celeste. Olivia's jaw clenched. Or we could tell the truth that you cheated on me, lied, and used my accounts. But that would drag me into the mud as well, wouldn't it? He nodded, guilt etched into his features. I know. I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you or risk everything. She cut him off. Stop. Don't say you never wanted to hurt me, when you made every choice that led here. Her eyes flared with a mix of sorrow and anger. Right now, I need to protect myself financially and legally. Our attorney will be in touch. As for damage control, you can do whatever spin you want. I'm done covering for you. James slumped defeated. In that moment, Olivia saw the cracks in his once unshakable confidence. The empire he had built both financially and personally was beginning to crumble. And Celeste, the mistress, who had flaunted her ill-gotten ring online, was now turning the tides against him. As Olivia left the study, she felt an odd sense of liberation. She no longer needed to pretend or keep up appearances. Her marriage might be irreparably broken, but she would face the world on her own terms. Whether that meant a public battle or a quiet settlement, one thing was sure: Celeste and James had underestimated the power of a wronged wife who refused to be a silent bystander. The scandal grew like wildfire in social circles and media outlets. Celeste's tell-all interviews fed gossip sites. Speculation swirled about how much she'd been paid to spill intimate details. Meanwhile, James scrambled to reassure investors and salvage his reputation, and Olivia, caught in the eye of the storm, remained stoic, determined not to let either James or Celeste define her narrative. A week after Celeste's revelations, a new twist emerged. One of Celeste's former roommates, a young designer named Natalie Perez contacted Felicia Barlow's blog. She provided screenshots of text messages in which Celeste bragged about hooking James Harrington, describing how she planned to milk him for gifts. Natalie's messages portrayed Celeste as the manipulator, an ambitious socialite who relished the attention and the high life. Felicia, sensing a chance to restore her own relevance, published an exclusive piece that painted Celeste in a far less sympathetic light. Suddenly, online sentiments shifted. Some labeled Celeste a gold digger. Others pointed out that James was still culpable for his affair. The public turned from one simplistic narrative, mistress abused by a heartless tycoon, to a more complex one where both parties were flawed. Through it all, Olivia remained silent. She refused interviews, though tabloids tried to reach her for her side of the story. Instead, she focused on the philanthropic events she had coming up. She also followed Helen's advice, quietly gathering more evidence, ensuring her financial security was airtight. One afternoon, she received an unexpected phone call from Celeste herself. The sound of that breathy voice sent adrenaline pumping through Olivia's veins. She nearly let it go to voicemail, but something compelled her to answer. "Olivia Harrington," she said, her tone brisk. A pause on the line, then Celeste spoke. "Olivia, please don't hang up. I want to apologize." It was the last thing Olivia expected. Apologize for what exactly she asked, icily. Celeste sighed. "For the ring, the social media posts everything. I was swept up in the lifestyle James provided. When he cut me off, I panicked. I felt used and humiliated. I lashed out with those interviews, but it's become this massive scandal." Olivia frowned. "It became a scandal because you sold your story." "Look," Celeste said, voice trembling. "I know I'm not innocent. I was hurt when James turned his back on me so suddenly. But the story I told wasn't the full truth. I'm reaching out because the backlash is intense. People are calling me a liar, a gold digger. My modeling contracts are getting cancelled. I might get sued for defamation by your husband's lawyers. I just wanted you to know I never intended to destroy your life, too." Olivia let out a dry, humorless laugh. "Well, your intentions don't matter much now, do they? The damage is done. And in case you forgot, you did use my stolen finances for that ring. If you think a simple phone call will absolve you, you're mistaken." Tears crackled through Celeste's voice. "I understand. And I don't expect forgiveness. I'm sorry, Olivia. I wanted a better life, and I made terrible choices. I know you might not believe me, but this is the truth." Olivia stood there, phone pressed to her ear, grappling with a torrent of emotions. Part of her despised Celeste, wishing she would vanish forever. Another part recognized this as the first genuine-sounding apology she'd received from the woman who had been complicit in wrecking her marriage. At length, Olivia spoke quietly. "Celeste, I appreciate that you called, but I'm not in a position to forgive. I suggest you use whatever resources you have left to rebuild your life away from James and away from me." A final sob, and then Celeste ended the call. Olivia stared at the phone, feeling a curious mixture of relief and residual anger. Maybe Celeste's apology was sincere. Maybe it was another ploy to salvage her public image. Either way, Olivia no longer cared. She'd spent enough energy on this toxic entanglement. By the end of the month, James's attorneys negotiated a private settlement with Celeste, paying her a modest sum in exchange for retracting her more damaging statements and ceasing further interviews. The tabloids, hungry for the next scandal, moved on. James's business faced temporary fallout, but a few loyal partners stood by him. The Harrington name was bruised, but not irreparably. As for Olivia, she chose her path forward with clarity. She filed for divorce, a process that, thanks to her meticulous documentation, protected her assets and philanthropic interests. She had no intention of allowing James to continue reaping the benefits of a marriage he had so carelessly disregarded. In the divorce settlement, Olivia demanded the penthouse significant shares in their joint real estate ventures and a public apology to rectify the humiliation she had endured. James, worn down by guilt and the threat of further scandal, agreed. When the final papers were signed, Olivia stood outside the courthouse, face lifted to the sunshine. She felt no urge to sob or collapse, only a powerful sense of liberation. Yes, her marriage was over, but her life was far from ruined. She still had her charities, her family, and most importantly, her integrity. In time, the story of the mistress who flaunted a stolen ring online would become a footnote in high society gossip. But for Olivia, it was a crucible that tested her strength, resilience, and self-worth, and she emerged from it, not unscathed, but unbroken. Life is unpredictable. One moment you're scrolling through social media, and the next you're plunged into a storm of lies and betrayal. Olivia Harrington's journey reminds us that truth can't remain hidden forever, no matter how glittering the distractions. Sometimes the very scandal meant to break you becomes the fire that forges your resilience. If you've been hooked by this tale of secrets and deception, you won't want to miss our future deep dives into real-life dramas and cautionary stories. Make sure to like this video, share it with friends who love a gripping scandal, and subscribe to our channel for more compelling narratives. Together we'll explore the darker corners of high society and celebrate the triumphant moments that prove inner strength can outshine even the brightest diamond ring. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more stories that illuminate life's hidden truths.